Today we're gonna fish for perch. We're gonna do some perch school where I'm gonna teach the basics regarding perch fishing, techniques, different methods, rigs, tutorials. I'm gonna cover a lot of perch fishing today, and of course, as best as I can do it, try to describe perch fishing during the year as well, and different scenarios if we're in the archipelago, lake fishing and so on. So we're gonna talk about everything today. So first bay, this is a quite shallow bay. We have a deeper part out here on the right with maybe 2-3 meters of depth, but down here just to the left, we're talking maybe 1.5 meter, and I want to see if there are some active fish roaming around in the water. So I'm going for the minnow in some matte colors. We have a lot of overcast, so not so much light. And we start to fish out here and see if we can identify some fish here. And if not, we will move either deeper into the bay and see if the fish are standing more shallow, or if we simply just have to change method. So the thing with casting a twitch bait or jerk bait is that they can catch a lot of wind. So often you have to be a bit more gentle when you throw the lure. We have a built-in cast weight system in this lure, so the weight inside it moves, so the lure won't wobble around when you throw it. But take it easy, do it slow, and you will get really nice cast. And when I fish the jerk bait or the twitch bait, first just a few taps on the rod, and the most important thing here is to let the lure just rest, let it hang there in the water. These lures are suspending, so a few taps, let the perch see the lure, and often, not always but often, the strike comes after maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. So you really have to keep focus when you're fishing twitch baits. So we've been fishing for maybe 30 minutes or so, but no strikes so far. We have an extreme low pressure right now. Yesterday we had like almost 20 degrees and sunshine, and today overcast and maybe 8-9 degrees, and that is a thing that perch do not like. So I'm gonna downsize a bit. I'm gonna go for a slim shad, 7.5 centimeters, and fish close to the bottom, because I think that this low pressure has really pushed the fish down, and hopefully that is the method right now, because they are tricky. Finally, we have a fish. It's actually a decent perch. And this fish took when the lure was standing still on the bottom. So that's a nice fish. So I had just popped the lure and it was dropping down, standing still. And when I was about to lift again, I felt that it took the lure. And this is actually a healthy fish. On the bait chunky minnow, motor oil, and a super nice like 40 plus perch, around a kilo or so. Very nice fish. So this fish took on the bait junkie minnow, 3.2 inches. This is one of my favorite lures when it comes to archipelago fishing. For some reason, the perch seems to just love these motor oil colors. But what is really nice with this lure is that it is floating. So every time I pop it up and it drops down and lands on the bottom, it will stand like this. And if you have a lot of weed beds and grass and basically any vegetation on the bottom, it gives the lures a little bit extra visibility, and the perch notice it. And I at least imagine that if the lure is standing like this, the perch gets tempted to really grab the lure. Bait junkie minnow, 3.2 inches. It always does this trick. Super lure. You can basically fish in so many different ways. There are no right or wrongs. My preferred starting method is that I always try to have the rod like in 45 degrees. That gives me a good angle on the line and a good tension on the line. I try to not stand like this. Sometimes I stand like this, but that is often when I just drag the lure on the bottom, and that is because I want to have as good connection as possible from the reel, the line, all the way down to the lure. But my base stand is like this. You'll have good control and good visibility on the line. You'll have good sensibility. You can feel when the jig is dropping down to the bottom. And you have good contact with the reel. And then once I hit the bottom, first thing is that I just let the lure drop down and rest on the bottom for 3, 4, 5 seconds. If nothing happens, small twitches. Try to move the lure maybe a meter or so, not more. And again, just wait. Often when you come out in the beginning on a fishing session, you're fishing way too fast. And you realize, why did I get strikes after maybe 1 or 2 hours? That's because you have calmed down, starting to concentrate when you fish. Because the worst thing you can do is being in a hurry when you're fishing. Small twitches, lift the lure just above the bottom and down again. Sometimes I just want to drag the lure on the bottom, but that is if I'm fishing on hard structure, small rocks, big rocks. That tends to draw a lot of attraction to the perch when I just draw the lure. But here in Archipelago, where we have a lot of grass, I try to pop it up, keep this 45 degrees, let the lure sink down again, let it rest on the bottom, give it 1, 2, 3. It's often here where the strike comes. And if not, pop it again, let it sink down, and let it rest. Just rinse and repeat. Try to cover a lot of areas. Try to not, you can always cast 1 or 2 or even 3 times in the same direction. But if there's no action, try to just move around. And if you have sonar technology, it's always nice to try to find the structure, the weed, where the line is from where the weed or the grass bed stops and where you go over to like naked structure. That is often where the perch patrols back and forth. But if you don't using sonars, then it's way more important to stay focused and do cast after cast after cast and cover a lot of water. Because if you're fishing slowly and fishing concentrated, you don't really need the sonars. Once again, I had a long pause, this time almost 10 seconds actually. And just when I was about to pick up the lure, I had a strike again. And this is another nice perch. Let's see if we can land it. There we go. Again, on the minnow, standing up in the grass, and just with this low pressure, you have to wait for the perch. Can't be too aggressive in the fishing. Another super nice fish, around 40 centimeters. Again, the minnow. There we go. The fish are tricky today, so I really have to wait for the fish to strike. When I take the fish from the net, use my thumb. The perch are really hard here in the mouth, and unhook it, but once I lift it up, I always give the perch stability in the belly, because they are pretty heavy for their size. Try not to just hold the fish with the thumb and the finger here in the head. And also be careful, because these ones are really sharp and the gills are extremely sharp as well. Now I'm not gonna keep the perch up here in the air for too long, but be careful with the fish. Now we're gonna release it. Second fish, bait junkie minnow again. Both of these fish are caught in extreme long pauses when I have been doing other things, like grabbing a lure or grabbing water to my friend. Vill chefen ha lite vatten där bak?
Ja, men kanske. Jag tänkte att jag för en gång skulle grilla lite kort i det.
Är det så?
Ja, men jag tänkte att jag skulle ta den med pucken idag, och köra lite här bak. Medan du försöker stå och slä lite perch.
Perch. Det är så mycket vatten här nere faktiskt. Jag ska inte ens tro att jag har tänkt det.
Ja, oj.
Där har vi en.
Fan.
Like I said before, long pauses. That is very important when the fish are tricky. I had another bite, and sometimes the lure comes out like this. Small tip. I always keep some super glue in my boat. I'll take just a tiny bit up there, put the lure back and let it cure there. And easy way to prevent the lure from slipping down. They stopped biting on the minnow, bait junkie minnow, so I had to pick up the finesse rod and go for the Ned style, the mushroom heads. Fishing slow, fishing with patience, and you get rewarded. Another brilliant fish. I'm not sure that this one has spawned yet. And this time they took still the bait junkie series, but a small grub. Super nice fish, and hopefully there are a few more here that will go for a mushroom rigged bait junkie grub. Net fishing is a very nice method if the fishing is slow and you need a really slow presentation, or you need to fish really static if you know where the fish are. The Ned fish, what like people call it, is basically a flat-headed jig head, a mushroom head, which basically always land like this on the bottom. And since we are using often floating material in our jigs in the bait junkie series, you really help the jig to always stand up with this type of head. Like now in Archipelago, a lot of grass again, we're going for a EVG, an extra wide gape hook. That basically means that we're fishing a wide gape hook, so when the fish bite, you get a lot of exposed hook here, and you don't get snagged as much in the grass. Method, basically, first of all, I try to often make shorter cast. I don't want to fish this method on really long line, so maybe just 15-20 meters away. Like jig fishing style, as long as you don't have too much wind and you can really have the tension on the line and feel the connection to the lure, because you're fishing really light weights here. We're talking maybe 1, 3, 5 grams on the mushroom heads. We're fishing small hooks, where I often like to just let the jig stay on the bottom, maybe wiggle it a little bit, and then pause it, and if there's no strike, you can lift it a little bit, let it go down to the bottom again, let it stay, nothing happens. You can always just twitch it a little bit so that you know this worm or curly tail is just standing there dancing on the bottom. Often as well is that I will never try to jump the jig away when I'm moving it. I will always drag it away, because these hooks are so small, so sometimes the fish just sucks up the lure and you barely feel the bite. So next time when you're actually moving the lure, it often happens that you can feel the fish then, and that's where you really want to reel in the hook in the mouth. You have to fish it slow. It's a finesse presentation. You do want a rod with a very soft action like this. This is the ADS Finesse. We have a lot of parabolic action in this rod. It's very sensitive. You can feel the smallest bite. So go for a light, maybe 3 to 15 grams casting weight, 2 to 10, 5 to 15 or so. Of course, depending on heavy jig heads you're using, but try to use light gear. So the bad weather continues. The fish is really picky, but we got this super nice fish. We had to change to the mushroom heads, but I think even the bait junkie grub had too much action. So we went for the smallest risky critter. There are some action in it, but it's a very low presentation, finesse type presentation on this lure. Some minor motion on the claws on this small crayfish. Today, bait junkie has been a total success. They keep on coming now. It's tough, it's windy, it's hard to fish finesse styles, but risky critter, it's a winner today. Another beautiful perch, maybe 35 centimeters or so. I'm gonna put it back directly, but this is so much fun. So much fun. Drop shot, found a weed line where we really could follow on the sonar where the weed line went. Took the drop shot, throw it out, and just a bam. Very nice 1 kilo plus perch. I think it's like 43 or 44 centimeters. That is a really nice fish. Drop shotting, but it's all about the finesse techniques today. So day 2, it got out of control yesterday. It was raining really bad, we couldn't film, it was heavy winds. We kept on hammering and we caught actually a decent amount of perch. They were hungry, but we couldn't film it. Today we got a warm, nice sun. It's still cold, but it's nice with the sun, so stay tuned and hopefully we can catch a few more perch, talk about some rods, maybe some more lures, some reels and so on. So tag along. Key to yesterday's success were for sure Ned fishing. It took some time until before I really cracked the code yesterday on the perch, but Ned fishing with a bait junkie risky critter. Risky critter is 7.5 centimeter. It is like all other bait junkie lures, floating. I just throw it out there, let it sink to the bottom, standing up. I gave it long pauses. I really had the patience yesterday, and then the strike come, or if I didn't have any strike, I just gently moved the lure and long pauses again, and the perch came and took it. Like I said yesterday, the risky critter were for sure one of the best lures, but there are a few other lures that I appreciate to fish on mushroom heads, Ned style. One is the bait junkie grub, the small version, 7.5 centimeters. I especially like to fish this lure at home in my rivers where you have some current, because when this one lands on the bottom, just a slight current in the river makes this tail wiggle around by itself when it's standing on the bottom. That's a very nice one. And lastly, I'm talking a lot about this Elastomax rubber, but sometimes it's not the best choice. Sometimes you need more traditional jigging rubber, like the fat crawler. It gives a little bit different presentation, you know, it drops down and slowly bends to the side, and on the fat crawler you have this top that dances when it stands on the bottom. So the fat crawler, 12 centimeter, is also extremely nice. I almost always use these methods on spinning reels, and there are two different rods that are my favorites. First, ProRex XR Finesse. There are a bit more backbone in this one compared to the AGS Finesse, and in the situations where I choose the Finesse rods is if I mostly use the offset version. If there are a lot of grass and I really need to set the hook, then I go for the AGS ProRex XR. But that is often when I feel that I miss too many bites or lose them, because my go-to rod is the ProRex AGS Finesse. This is the Ned rod. You have the perfect action in a blank. It's a bit more parabolic action. You have extremely extreme amounts of sensibility in this rod, and still enough backbone to often put the hook in the mouth. Yeah, you feel every single bite here. I prefer to run a 2000 sized reel, sometimes even 1000 sized reel, but there are no right or wrongs here. Go for a 3000 sized if that's what fits your needs. But line, braided line for total control, for maximum sensibility, and like here I go for a 0.08 millimeter J braid line. This is I think that this setup is a very nice setup. The reel is a Fuego. I don't think you can get a better setup for net fishing. Of course you can, but this is very high-end net fishing gear. When I identify structure that where I really want to fish when it comes to perch fishing, is that I often use my sonar and the side image. I use it a lot, and I'm gonna try to describe what I get out from it. First of all, you can see this black line in the center. This basically shows the same as a traditional 2D sonar. I can see the depth up here, and I can also see here if this black line gets wider, that also means that the depth increase. When I look at this on the right side, I can see there are a lot of rocks, and rocks are good for perch fishing because perch, they really like structure. They really like to hide around structure, search for food around structure. Another thing, as you can see on the left side here, is weed beds and grass. This is basically grass that is just above the bottom. It's not very high, but it's there, and that is, once again, places for the perch to hide or places for the perch to search for food. If the perch are aggressive, they often hunt around the weed lines. So if I would place a cast, I would often try to cast just outside the weed line, not inside the weed. Because the perch, they will go out and they will hunt the lure and strike and go back in, because that is their natural method, that they hide in the grass, they see something moving just outside this weed line, they go out, smack it, and then back into the grass. As you can see here, we have a lot of structure on the left side. On the right side, we have a deeper part that goes up. If the lightning, the yellow here, is bright, it's a bit deeper, and the sonar is scanning out like this. And as you can see, it gets more and more shallow here, where the color gets darker. And this can also be a very good spot to fish on these ledges. But mostly I use it for finding structure, like stone on the left side here, or as you can see here, there's grass, and a very good fishing depth for me, 2.3 meters in the archipelago. That's a super nice fishing depth. Okay, so now we are standing exactly where we closed from the sonar picture, and if we look around, if we look to the left here, you can easily, but you can probably understand what I spoke about, this yellow texture that went like a small hill upwards to shallow water into the right. So this is most likely a shallow bay going in here. Not so much structure inside, so I would not fish the right side. I would rather go to your left, because here we can see a lot of stuff going on. If we follow the water line, we can see some rocks, and with my sunglasses I can even see some rocks going just underneath the water, going out into the water here. and we also got this tongue, this small ledge going out from the island straight out into the water, and this often means that the rocks keep going this direction in the water, and that is where I would start to fish. I would start to cast my lures in the same direction, because then I can be quite sure that there is structure, and if there are structure and water going into deeper water, then there are most likely some fish roaming around. And if I don't go for the rocks and the structure close to the island, then I will basically just start to throw my lures out there, just one cast at a time, and start to search and feel. What do I get into? Is it hard, like going into rocks, or am I snagging, getting into grass, weed beds, and just keep on casting, because eventually you will most likely not catch any weed anymore, and then you have found where the weed ends, and often where the perch patrol around that weed line, and that is where I would waste most of my cast. And during this time you will also notice, if you're using a lure that sinks, the different depths. And if you're fishing and it takes like 3 or 4 seconds before you feel that your jig hits the bottom, suddenly you're standing there like, oh, maybe 5 or 6 seconds before the jig hits the bottom, then we have found the deep hole. And in places like this, the perch love to stack in small deep holes where they can basically just stand there and pause, and then they start to move around again around this hole, searching for food. This is all about hours on the water, practicing what you see, and using sensibility in your hands, and using good rods with good sensibility, so you can identify what type of structure you are fishing in. One big mistake that people often do is when they have found the weed beds and the grass, and it's getting annoying, they're getting grass and grass and grass, and we can't fish here. That is when you have to start to think as a perch angler. What type of lures do I have in my tackle box? Maybe is it time to bring up that twitch bait that just goes 1 meter underneath the surface, because you know that, okay, maybe there are 3 meters of depth out there, but there are a lot of grass, and it's time to cast this twitch bait and jerk it just above the grass. Long passes, and the perch will most likely, instead of go outside of the weed beds, look up and leave the weed beds that way and go up and grab your twitch bait, and then back into the grass again. So always try to figure out the situation. How can I improve myself, use my skills, and fish this spot with this vegetation or these rocks? So challenge yourself. So I'm back home trying to arrange all the gear that has been used these 2 days. I hope that you guys picked up on some information, maybe you learned something new. It was 2 very tricky days. We had, like I described in the film, we had some really warm sunny days before the recording, and during the first day temperature dropped, rocked down, and after that we had thunderstorms, we had rain, and the day after that we had high sun again with almost sub-0 degrees in the morning, winds from the northern. Yeah, it's pretty bad, but we managed. We caught some fish, and I believe that we did catch fish due to that we really tried to use all of our techniques. Maybe if we would have went out and just went for traditional jig fishing or twitch bait fishing or something like that, maybe we haven't caught anything at all. So I really think that this 2 days really shows that you can catch the perch as long as you're brave enough to really try different methods and so on. Please stay tuned for more content on our YouTube channel at Daiwa Scandinavia. You can just search for it and you will find it. And hopefully I will see you guys soon again. Take care.